Welcome to the deep dive. We're about to dive into a strategic principle today that just might flip your understanding of power completely on its head. It's all about how some of history's most influential figures gain control, not really by chasing and fighting, but, well, by attracting.
That's right.
Our deep dive topic today is a fascinating one. It's often called Law 8 in, those classic texts on power and influence. Make other people come to you bait if necessary.
Mhm.
And get ready, because we've pulled some truly surprising historical stories from our sources that brilliantly unpack the incredible nuances of this whole idea.
It's really compelling about this concept, I think, is that it goes far beyond just simple attraction. It's fundamentally about seizing the initiative, right? It's about leveraging the actions of others to serve your own strategic aims.
Okay.
And the sources reveal why this is just a far more effective long-term strategy than constant, aggressive action. You'll definitely have some aha moment about how what looks like bold direct movement can actually be, well, self-defeating in the long run.
Okay, so to really see this law in action, let's cast our minds back. Let's go to the grand stage of the Congress of Vienna in 1814. At its heart, Law 8 lays out this powerful truth. When you force the other person to act, you are the one in control. It is always better to make your opponent come to you, abandoning his own plans in the process. Lure him with fabulous gains, then attack. You hold the cards.
Exactly. And this principle, it advocates for a fundamental shift in the power dynamic. Instead of you burning all your energy, you get others to do the heavy lifting, basically, to expend their force. You position yourself to react, but on your terms, conserving your strength while they wear themselves out chasing something you've cleverly dangled in front of them. It's about maintaining the initiative, always making them react to your hidden agenda.
So let's paint the picture. It's the Congress of Vienna, 1814. All the major European powers are there, carving up the remains of Napoleon's fallen empire. The city itself is like a whirl of grand balls and festivities, but underneath all that glamour, there's this real nervousness.
Yeah, palpable tension.
Why? Because the shadow of Napoleon himself still hangs over everything.
He's been exiled, right?
Entity?
To the island of Elba, not far from Italy.
Right. And despite being confined to this tiny island, a guy as audacious as Napoleon, well, he still made everyone nervous. There were even plots to, assassinate him, though they were seen as too risky. And then you had Russia's volatile Tsar, Alexander I, who only made things worse when he didn't get the piece of Poland he wanted. He actually threatened, "Beware, I shall loose the monster."
Wow.
And everyone knew he meant Napoleon. Meanwhile, in Elba, Napoleon's life was just this mockery of his former glory. He was king of this minuscule island, tiny retinue. It was all designed to humiliate him, and it seemed to be working.
Then that winter, something truly dramatic happens. Elba is supposedly surrounded by British ships, cannons pointed and everything, and Napoleon just escapes in the middle of the afternoon, in full view.
Astonishing, wasn't it? It astonished Europe, terrified the statesmen back in Vienna, and instead of seeking safety somewhere else, Napoleon audaciously chooses to return to France. He marches on Paris with this tiny army. People from all classes just throw themselves at his feet. Even Marshal Ney's army, the one sent to arrest him, switches sides.
Incredible turnaround.
He's declared emperor again. Volunteers swell his new army. This wave of delirium sweeps the country. And this leads to his famous 100-day rule before, well, the ultimate defeat at Waterloo and final exile to St. Helena. Bleak place.
Okay, but here's where the brilliance of Law 8 really shines through. It was only years later that the actual facts, the real story of Napoleon's dramatic escape came out. He was in fact baited.
Baited how?
His former foreign minister, Talleyrand, along with England's Castlereagh and Austria's Metternich, they were behind it all. You had visitors like Austria's General Koller whispering these promises of glory in Napoleon's ear, convincing him France would welcome him back, that the European powers might even greet his return.
No.
Oh, yes. He was even subtly tipped off that the English would sort of let him go, which is exactly what happened.
So the whole escape was a setup.
Pretty much.
Right.
Talleyrand's true motive wasn't to bring back Napoleon's glory at all. Not even close. It was to crush him, once and for all. He saw Napoleon's endless ambition as this fundamental threat to European stability. He actually turned against him years before.
Right. I remember reading he protested Elba being too close initially.
Exactly. He argued Napoleon should be sent much farther away. Talleyrand, see, he was a master strategist. He foresaw everything. He understood Napoleon's weaknesses perfectly, his impetuosity, that insatiable need for glory, his love for the masses, and he knew France was bankrupt, depleted, Any war Napoleon started would have to be short and, crucially, a losing one.
Wow.
As one diplomat in Vienna who kind of understood Talleyrand's chill scheme put it, he has set the house ablaze in order to save it from the plague.
That's incredible. What's truly remarkable about that Talleyrand example is, like you said, how it flips our usual understanding of power. We often think aggression equals strength, but here the greatest power came from orchestrating someone else's aggressive action. What makes this counterintuitive strategy so difficult for most leaders to grasp?
That's a great question. I think most people, most leaders, they instinctively think in terms of direct action, right? Strike first, force the issue.
Sure.
But the true effective action, as Talleyrand understood, is often to stay back, keep calm, and let others get frustrated by the traps you lay for them.
Playing the long game.
Exactly. Playing for long-term power rather than just a quick, often fleeting victory. The essence of power here is keeping the initiative, making others react to your moves, keeping them constantly on the defensive. And to be in this position, two things are really vital. You yourself have to master your emotions, never be influenced by anger, while at the same time playing on others' natural tendency to react impulsively, maybe angrily when they're pushed or baited. This ability, making others come to you, it's a weapon far more powerful than any tool of just direct aggression.
And Talleyrand just exemplified that internal discipline perfectly, didn't he? He didn't run around trying to overtly convince skeptical statesmen that Napoleon was still a threat. That would have just made him look foolish.
Right.
Instead, he held his tongue, controlled his emotions, and laid this irresistible trap for Napoleon himself. He knew Napoleon's weaknesses and just played them like a fiddle. By setting that trap, Talleyrand took control of the time and place of action, all without ever having to raise his voice.
And think about the energy conservation. This strategy offers a huge advantage there. We all have limited resources, limited energy, right? When you make the other person come to you, they wear themselves out, wasting their energy on the trip, while you wait, full of force. As the ancient commentator on the art of war, Zhang Yu, wisely put it, attacking emptiness with fullness is like throwing stones on eggs. Meaning, you're using all your strength against an opponent who has already exhausted themselves or been forced into a position they can't defend. It's essentially a battle you've already won by conserving your own force.
It's like that image you mentioned, the honeyed bear trap. The hunter doesn't chase the bear, exhausting himself, risking his life. Instead, he lays traps, baited with honey. He baits, then he waits, gets the bear to come to him.
Precisely. Much smarter, much safer.
And this principle isn't just for, grand historical figures or military generals. It seems to have really diverse applications. Like, consider the Russia-Japan War in 1905. Marshal Togo Heihachiro's Japanese fleet, technically, it was weaker than the Russian Navy, but the Japanese used false information to bait the stronger Russian Baltic fleet, forcing them onto that long, arduous route around the Cape of Good Hope.
Yes, and there was a second, even more brilliant layer of deception there. As the Russian fleet passed the Cape, the Japanese spread another false story that they were sailing out to launch a counterattack. So the Russians made the entire rest of the journey to Japan on combat alert.
Oh man, exhausting.
Completely. By the time they arrived, their seamen were tense, exhausted, overworked. Meanwhile, the Japanese had been waiting, fully rested, totally prepared. So despite the initial odds, the Japanese just crushed the Russians with, frankly, surprising ease.
And there's that added benefit too, right? Forcing your opponent to come to you, as the Japanese did, makes them operate in your territory or territory you choose. Being on hostile ground makes people nervous, prone to rushing things, making mistakes.
Absolutely. For negotiations, for meetings, it's always wise to subtly lure others into your preferred territory. If you can, you have your bearings, while they are subtly placed on the defensive from the start.
Right.
And this whole strategy, it creates this illusion that the opponent is actually controlling the situation.
Yeah.
They don't feel the strings that pull him, Much like Napoleon imagined his escape was entirely his own daring idea. Everything depends on the sweetness of your bait.
The bait has to be good.
Oh, yeah. If your trap is attractive enough, the turbulence of your enemy's emotions and desires will blind them to reality. And, well, the greedier they become, the more they can be led around.
You even see this in the cutthroat world of 19th century finance. Daniel Drew, right? A notorious robber baron, one of those powerful, often ruthless businessmen back then. He was apparently a master at manipulating the stock market. When he wanted a stock bought or sold, He rarely just went straight at it.
Too obvious.
Yeah. One of his favorite tricks, apparently, was to hurry through an exclusive club near Wall Street, obviously looking like he was on his way to the exchange. He'd pull out his red bandana to wipe his brow, and a slip of paper would accidentally fall out, which he'd pretend not to notice.
Oh, that's classic.
The club members, always trying to guess Drew's next move, would pounce on the paper, and it invariably contained some kind of inside tip on a Stark. Word would spread like wildfire, members would buy or sell in droves, perfectly playing into Drew's hidden manipulation. He was basically the original financial troll, dropping breadcrumbs for others to follow right into his trap.
It really is a classic example of human nature, isn't it? Where there's perceived easy money or some kind of exclusive knowledge, rational thought often just goes out the window. And sometimes the bait isn't even about profit, is it? It can be about something much more primal. You see this even in everyday situations like those beware pickpocket signs in busy train stations or tourist spots.
Oh, yeah. How does that work?
Well, what's fascinating here is that when passersby see the sign, what do they instinctively do? They feel for their wallet, right, to make sure it's still there.
Ah, yeah, I'd probably do that.
Exactly. And for any watching pickpockets, this is like shooting fish in a barrel. It reveals the exact location of the wallet. Some pickpockets have even been known to place their own signs to ensure their success.
That is brilliant and so subtle, it's pure psychological manipulation. And sometimes you don't even need complete deception, right? Overt manipulation can work too. Like Filippo Brunelleschi, the great Renaissance artist and architect, he mastered this in a different way. When he was commissioned to repair the Santa Maria del Fiore Cathedral Dome in Florence, the city officials, in their infinite wisdom, hired a second guy, Lorenzo Ghiberti, to work with him. Brunelleschi knew Ghiberti got the job through connections, wouldn't do any real work, but would still get half the credit. So at a critical moment in construction, Brunelleschi suddenly developed this mysterious illness.
Convenient.
Very. He had to stop work, but casually pointed out that Ghiberti should be perfectly capable of continuing on his own.
And let me guess, Ghiberti wasn't.
Not even close. It quickly became clear he was utterly useless. The officials came begging to Brunelleschi, who subtly ignored them for a bit, insisting Ghiberti should finish the work. Finally, they realized the problem, they fired Ghiberti, and surprise, Brunelleschi recovered within days.
Amazing. Okay. He didn't throw tantrums. He just demonstrated his indispensability. He made them come to him. And by establishing that point of dignity, where others must come to you and you succeed, it ensures their continued deference and respect on the line.
Okay, now, of course, no strategy is absolute. This one's no different. We spent all this time talking about drawing others in, making them come to you, conserving energy. But now you're saying sometimes you should go to them. That feels like a bit of a contradiction. How do these two ideas coexist?
That's a great observation, and it's what we call the reversal to Law 8. It's crucial to understand when not to apply the main principle. Sometimes striking suddenly and aggressively at the enemy can so demoralize them that their energies just completely collapse. This involves going to them, forcing the issue, taking the lead. See, a rapid and unforeseen move can be terrifying, demoralizing. It forces the other person to react without time to think or plan, often leading to errors. So while it seems like the opposite approach you're going to them, it actually still serves the same core function. You are making your enemy respond on your terms, just through a different mechanism. Speed and surprise instead of bait.
Ah, okay. That makes sense. We see this with leaders like Cesar Borgia, right? He used lightning-fast strikes to intimidate and control. And even Napoleon himself. Despite being baited by Talleyrand, he was also capable of incredible speed and aggression when the situation demanded it.
Absolutely. So the critical distinction, the key to choosing your tactics is this. If time is on your side and your strengths are at least equal, then generally use the bait and wait approach. Deplete your enemy's strength. But if time is against you, or if your enemies are already weaker and waiting would only allow them to recover or gather strength, well then you give them no such chance. Strike quickly and decisively. Give them, as they say, nowhere to go.
Like the legendary boxer Joe Louis famously put it. He can run, but he can't hide.
Exactly that kind of pressure.
Wow. What an incredible deep dive into the strategic depth of Law 8. From the grand historical stage of Napoleon's fall, all the way to the subtle manipulations of a robber baron, and even the psychological tricks of pickpockets. The power of making others come to you is remarkably clear. It grants you control, conserves your energy, and puts your opponents squarely on the defensive.
So as you reflect on these insights, maybe consider areas in your own life, whether it's in your career, maybe personal relationships, or even just your approach to problems where you might be constantly chasing and reacting, burning valuable energy. What opportunities might exist for you to calmly set the stage, perhaps lay some sweet bait, and strategically make others come to you, thereby gaining initiative and reducing your own expended energy? Something to think about.
Absolutely. Take a moment to think about where you might apply this knowledge, perhaps in your own pursuits of knowledge or just in tackling problems. Until next time, keep digging deeper.